What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into my video. I'm your host, I Like Concerts, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Battlefield 1 beta. Now, I have been getting some messages here and there about people asking me what is my favorite setup for the Scout class, what are my favorite vehicles, just what I've been grown accustomed to through this beta. I was an early enlister, so I did get that extra day. So it did give me a lot more time to play with a lot of the snipers, but I kind of fell in love with the SMLE 3 for a various amount of reasons. First being which is the clip size. I mean, it's got 10 bullets in it. There's nothing you can really argue about that. It means you have more bullets for more targets that are in the area, and if you're faced with more targets, it gives you, better chances to kill them if you do miss one or two shots. When you're using the Russian or the Gewer, you only got 5 bullets, so if you got more than 2-3 enemies that you're versing, if you miss a couple, then you have to be basically precise on the rest of the shots. So with the SMLE, you can at least have more reassurance that if you miss a couple, you're still good to go. But also, if you're faced with a lot of enemies, you're able to take them out in a vast amount of numbers. Some of the other pros that I'd like to talk with is the scope. Even though that it's a short-range sniper with a short-range scope, I do find that it actually is pretty decently easy to take out enemies from a far-range distance in this game, especially with the improved bullet drop as opposed to Battlefield 4. Find even though I'm faced with a short-range sniper, I'm still able to take out enemies from a longer distance. Sometimes it's a one-shot, sometimes it's a two-shot, but still it gets the job done. Especially when you're rocking 10 bullets, there's nothing really to complain if you're popping 2 out from the one side of the map to the other. And with the scope being such short range, it makes it perfect for the more aggressive sniper. If you're a sniper that likes to snipe close to medium range, it's going to be a perfect weapon for you. It's a short range scope, but the clarity and the bullet drop will make it easier to pick off enemies. One thing that I do want to note with this gun is that the bayonet for it is still a tad bit finicky. When I'd be trying to charge an enemy, this only happened like a couple times, mind you, so it's not really a tad big deal, but I'd be like behind an enemy and I'd be charging them, and my bayonet would just go straight up like butter knife and just look like it was just gliding across the back of the person. It wasn't even like trying to cut them or anything. It just looked like I was spreading butter on someone's back. Just one big stroke, just kept going right over them, and I just kept running by them. It didn't even connect them, even though I ran right at them and like brushed against the enemy and everything. So that's the only thing I can really say I was kind of a little bit sad with this gun. Everything else I do love about it. It's just the bayonet has costed me some deaths, so that was one thing I definitely wanted to note in here. Now, in the scheme of handguns, we were given a choice of 2 for the beta, one being the P08 and the other being the M1911. Both had similar statistics, but the M1 pulled out a little bit farther, I'd say. I wouldn't say a lot for damage. But I would say when I was using both in the battlefield, the P08 responded a lot quicker when I'd be switching out from my sniper to finish off an enemy, or if I needed it, in a fast-paced scenario where I couldn't reload the sniper quick enough. The M19, sometimes when I'd take it out, would have this weird reloading animation that would still be happening after it was already fully reloaded. Like, I'd whip it out and my character would look like he's just like putting the clip in, or he'd be like cocking the gun. Whether it was different like every time, but it was still happening, and that definitely did cost me some deaths. I didn't know if it was maybe my fault, because sometimes I'd be playing and I wouldn't let the reload animation fully go through, so I don't know if it's something that it was brought on by myself or if it was a game actual issue, but I just wanted it to be noted. The next thing I want to talk about is grenades in this game. My personal favorite that had helped me out a lot when fighting against vehicles and infantry was the impact grenade. I find that the impact grenade has a larger blast radius than it did in Battlefield 4, and I find that it responds a lot quicker upon hitting objects or enemies. Detonates a lot quicker than it does in Battlefield 4, which I do like. I did try out all the grenades, and you know, here's the thing. The gas grenade, you know, it works good as like a kind of like a somewhat transparent smoke screen. Like if there's enough of them popped, it's very hard to see enemies on the other side, and it does damage them. But you know, everyone's got a gas mask equipped, like default. So for the most part, if they keep it, it's not going to damage them. You know, so there's already the thing right there that I don't like. The frag grenade, I love it for its explosive damage. Obviously, it's got a better blast radius than the impact grenade, but there's also the timing factor. So it's one reason why I like the impact, because the only time I really use the grenade is when I'm getting attacked by like large amounts of enemies, or getting attacked like by an enemy that's in close proximity that I know will do a lot of damage too quickly. In regards to smoke grenades, I didn't find them nearly as helpful as I thought I would. Already with the fact that on the map we get fog and we get sandstorms, so I didn't really see a point to having a grenade that would deprive the other team visually for a matter of seconds when on the map, like maybe later, maybe in the next match, there was going to be like a giant sandstorm or a foggy kind of outlook on the field. So I just thought I'd rather put my time into having a offensive grenade rather than a defensive one. And I did get time to use the anti-tank grenade that was supplied for the scout class. I didn't really like it, couldn't throw it nearly as far, and it just didn't get me any kills really. I'd hit vehicles, and by the time the vehicles were gone, the grenade, you know, would explode. Didn't really work out. And even in some scenarios where I would hit the vehicle, it would take like half a second or a full-on second to detonate, which in most cases the vehicle's already gone. And when it comes to the scheme of vehicles in this game, I didn't really use too many. Obviously there's like the general ones that spawn on the map, which I did use for transport a lot of the time. But I'd have to say for vehicles that I just enjoyed, other than that, the ones that I actually have to call out, I'd have to say the bomber was my definite first favorite, and then the artillery truck was my second. I think that those are both very versatile vehicles in the game, and will definitely be a good turning point if you have a person who knows how to use that vehicle very well. Now, I like the bomber for the fact that, you know, it's a bomber. You can be way high up on the map and just drop bombs out, you know, and be away from everyone. I think that's a great thing. Just dropping artillery for your teammates is a sick thing to do. The one thing that I'm seeing, though, with a lot of people who are flying this thing around is that they're not giving enough time for the front gunner to actually make his rounds on infantry and vehicles. You know, I see a lot of the pilots just focusing on themselves and dropping bombs, which, you know, is totally great because that does a lot of damage to the enemy team if you know how to place it. But the gunner on the front has just a huge gun. Like, it puts out so much damage if he hits infantry and he hits vehicles. So really, you know, if you're waiting on your bombs, you really need to work in his favor. I find flying on like a 45 or a 90-degree angle, anything in between that, gives him a good amount of space to work with, shooting things in the air and in the ground on that particular side that you're flying. Like if you're flying with one of the enemy bases to the right of you, you know, just turn to the direction where he's got full rain for like hitting the people on the ground. Because one thing that I really do not like is when I'm in the front seat myself and I'm shooting enemies and I'm shooting vehicles that are passing by down there. It really sucks because you could be putting a lot of good damage into them, but the person driving the bomber is too concerned on the bases at hand, when half the time that those people aren't even out in the open at said base. So it's really on a whim. So I really do think there should be some communication involved between front gunner and the bomber, because the front gunner is also visualization for the ground below for the bomber when he's not in that bombing view. I mean, I can't really say much for the gunner in the back because his main priority is to make sure no one's on your ass. That's basically it. You know, so because that's a tough gun to actually kill somebody with from far away. Like, I've only killed one infantry soldier from flying around in the back. You know, it's just rare to be able to kill somebody. I just got it by luck. As far as the artillery truck is concerned, I like that it has a good mix of power and mobility. It drives around really well and can hug turns really well, and it's fast. But it also has that large tank gun on the back of the vehicle, which can help take out planes. It can help take out other tanks, the land ships, and even the train to a certain extent. So it's really good. You can put a lot of damage on the enemy team and move quickly. And I find with a decent amount of the vehicles in this game, especially the land ones, they are a tad bit slow. So, you know, obviously the smaller vehicles have a increased amount of speed, but for the tanks, they're a lot slower. And I find that this artillery truck is a happy medium of being able to output power, but also being able to conquer the map. You know, it's got a good amount of distance it can travel compared to some of these vehicles. That's one thing I really like about it. One thing that I do want to note, though, with in regards back to sniping in the scout class, is that when it comes to sniping, you got to be unorthodox. You know, especially in your movement. Like, if you're going in sniper battles one-on-one, I find a lot of people just do the general serpentine, or they try and prone when they've gotten shot, and that really messes you up. You got to be unorthodox in your movements. You got to keep the enemy on their toes, make sure they can't plan where you're going to be so they can lead you with a shot, because I've done that already with a good amount of people, you know. So there's been times where I've been getting shot by like 2 or more enemies at a time, and definitely just, you know, keeping the movements on the ball, keeping them just sprite and just random, it really does screw with the enemy a lot, because they can't really predict where you're going to be. Another tip I'd like to give out for people who like to snipe in this game is that when you're in around C and D, when you're hanging in the building area, don't stick your character outside of the window, because then you become a lot more visible to a larger area. Whenever I'm sniping and I'm inside like a house, like the second story or base level, you know, it doesn't matter. If there's windows there and I'm sniping, I never stick my character outside, because, you know, someone's gonna run by and they're gonna be like, oh, look at this 2 feet plank of wood that's just like sticking out here. I love it. I'll just see what it is, because that's not supposed to be in a window. They'll just come up and they'll shoot you. You know, it's not a really good practice. You know, even snipers in real life, they don't stick their guns out the window, you know. It's just bad practice. So that does carry over into this game. When I'm on the roof and I'm a lot more visible to enemies than inside the house, one thing I like to do is I like to move a lot. Whether it's just subtly or running around, the one thing that you absolutely cannot do in this game is stand still. That's just Battlefield 101. You stand still, you're dead. So movement is key, definitely, when you're on top of the buildings in this game. Which brings me to my next point, mobility. It is the most important means of survival in this game. If you're going to be that kind of sniper where you want to sit out in the back and you want to snipe people, that's great. You know, that's what snipers are built to do. But you have to understand that you can't stay there too long, because people will find you, and when that happens, you're dead. So if you're going to shoot a few people, the best thing is to bounce onto another area, you know, just get a different vantage point, because that right there is what's going to help you survive a lot quicker. Get a different vantage point. You're already set up for, you know, whatever area you want to shoot out at, and you're also ready for the people who you just killed. They're going to go back when they die, and if they decide to run up on you, you won't be there. And if they zoom in with a scout class from a different part of the map and you're not there, they don't really know where you're going to be. So, you know, that's just one key point that I want to stress more than anything in this game, is that you have to move. Not move a lot, but you have to move. And that basically brings me to the end of this video. If you're one of the people who messaged me regarding my class setup, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope anyone who wanted more information on the bomber, the artillery truck, and just basically sniping tips, I hope some of this stuff helped you out. I know I didn't really go too far in depth on it, but I just wanted to answer some of the questions that people were giving me, and I hope I got it all across in one video. If you like the content, please be sure to like and subscribe on the video. Check out the channel for past videos I've done, and be sure to look for more in the future. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.